What's up, everybody? Once again, here we are, another Friday, another episode of NerdTV. So, the first mask that I put on today was some red wine anti-aging holographic mask, and it looked so cool. I'll show you a still from when I was trying to record with it, but it was so juicy that it just kept like running. It was like getting all in my mouth and my eyes. So I couldn't make it work. Luckily, I had a backup, and this is a cosmic, wow, that is so, there we go. Cosmic holographic peel off mask in luminizing rose quartz, which it looks just like the Yes to unicorn mask, so rip off. And unfortunately, I ripped off the top part that says what this one does, but something about the rose quartz is the love stone, and it removes impurities and illuminates for a brighter complexion. Perfect for all skin types. Yeah, well, for those of you that may be new to my channel, on Fridays, we do NerdTV, and NerdTV is all about what all I have been watching in the last week, and I didn't really do a whole lot of TV watching. Tuesday was my birthday, and then I went and rummaged around in a used bookstore for a few hours, and I just did more reading this week. Sorry. Okay, so this first show I'm going to talk about that I watched on Netflix, I really had zero interest in watching. I'm not much of a reality TV show kind of person. I do watch Ink Master, but I wasn't going to watch it. Some pictures and stills shared on Twitter that really kind of hacked me off. And anyhow, Netflix kept advertising every time I turned it on. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to give this stupid show a watch so I can make fun of it. And it is the show on Netflix, produced by Netflix, called Love is Blind. And really and truly, I think what really was the underlying cause for me deciding to give this show a shot is I recently read a book called Blind Sympathy by Roberta Bambinato. And it is about a blind female who unknowingly falls in love with a demon. I mean, that's just the bare bones. It is a fantastic book. I do have a review on my channel if you want to check it out. But in other words, because the main character, Vafara, is blind, she does not have her sight to factor in to her relationship with Israfel. She doesn't know he's a demon. So his physical attributes are completely out of the equation, and she relies on her other senses to get to know him, and she does fall in love with him. So I thought, you know what? I really like this book. I like the premise. I'm going to give this show a shot. Do I believe in the crap about this show? No. Because I haven't finished watching it yet, which I think I've watched maybe 3 or 4 episodes. So they're all locked in these houses. The guys are in one, the girls are in another. They go in these little rooms where they communicate and they go on dates with each other, and they get to know each other based off just talking with one another. Has nothing to do with what they look like physically. Like, they don't know anything about that person's physical looks. I mean, some of them describe themselves to each other, but I'm sorry. So, and they have this countdown, like 38 days till the weddings. So I'm guessing they talk to each other. If they make a connection and a guy proposes to a girl, like, they're going to get married in 30 days. What a load of horseshit. There is no way you can make a uniform decision on spending the rest of your life with another person off of a month. No. And why I believe what I'm saying is because there is a gentleman on the show, and second or third episode, he admits that he hasn't really come right out and defined his sexuality, but he is there to look for a wife. He wants to have children, but he admits that he's not attracted to a gender per se, but that person's heart, which there's absolutely not a single thing wrong with that. That you love someone based on who they are, not what they look like, male or female. I have no problems with that. What I have a problem with is he's not telling these girls. And while I don't think that should be an issue, I do think it's an issue that if you don't tell these girls up front, because those girls may not be understanding of that. They may have a problem with that. So from what I've watched so far, I think his name is Carlton. He has proposed to Diamond. Oh, hello, Milo Brown. Just make yourself at home there, buddy. So he's proposed to Diamond. He hasn't told her anything about any of that. And from what I've learned of Diamond on the show so far, she is a professional dancer for like a basketball team. I just think she's gonna have a problem with that, and it's just not gonna end well. There's another couple. So the girl's name is like Gianna. It's a different kind of name. It's like Anna or something. Anyhow, she is displaying all signs of crazy, and there's still a guy who really likes her, and she told him that she was a self-sabotager. Hello, dude, get a clue, you need to run. But, in the South, we love a good train wreck, so I'm totally gonna watch. I'm sitting back with my popcorn, and I'm gonna watch this blow right the hell up. So there is one couple, the very first couple, where the guy proposed to the girl. It's Cameron and Lauren. And I have to admit, I really love this couple, and I sincerely hope that it works out for them. They just really seem to click with one another. So, and Cameron he's a young guy. I can't remember how old he is, but he's like, I want to say early 30s. He's a scientist. Lauren, I can't remember what she does for a living, but she's this beautiful girl, and like they have no idea, and they just talk to each other. They form this emotional connection with one another with no confines on the relationship of physical attraction, race, any of that. And so, after you propose, you actually get to meet each other in person for a few minutes. And when they met, I was so curious to see how that was going to go. And y'all, I believed it. Cameron looked at her like she was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. And he just scooped her up and he says, "You are so beautiful. I cannot wait to spend the rest of my life with you." I was like, man, I was prepared to make fun of the show, and here I am, smiling. Every time they showed a snippet of their interaction, I was always smiling, and after she met him, they were talking to her, and she's like, wow, he's white. So she said, yeah, an interracial relationship is going to be difficult. She said, but I think we can make this work. I love that. I love that outside in the real world, she may have never given Cameron a second thought because she had just never thought about dating a white guy before. And she got to know him and made this connection. And, the fact that she fell in love with him without seeing him, and she's telling herself, you know what? I feel like I love this man, and he loves me enough that I can still be vocal, a huge supporter of everything concerning my race, that I can still be outspoken and a huge supporter, all that I have always stood for and believed in, and he's going to support me while I do it. That's amazing. That's exactly how you should be. You should not be in a relationship with someone who doesn't support all the things that are important to you. If you don't have the same major core beliefs and what's most important to you, you don't have in common, I just don't see it working long term. That's just my honest opinion. But, so the final couple that I'm going to talk about is Mark and Jessica. Jessica, at first, I was like, man, how is she 34 and still single? After a few episodes, I see exactly why. This girl don't know what the hell she wants. And I mean, she was very confusing. She really fell for this one guy early on, Mark, who is 10 years younger than her, and she has a problem with that. Well, she still kind of fell for him anyway. She really liked him, but then she kind of started talking to this guy named Barnett, and Barnett seems to be the typical bad boy on here, and he's talking to a lot of girls, and a lot of girls are liking him. And so, you know, he tells Jessica, well, I think I'm going to propose to you tomorrow. So she goes right over to Mark and she's like, hey, you know what? Basically breaks it off on him, hurts his feelings. The next day, she goes in to talk to Barnett. She's already get proposed to. Well, he's thought about it overnight and thinks he's better off with one of these other two girls. And so he tells her that. Well, she loses her damn mind and walks out on him. And so then she goes running back to Mark and is trying to make things right. I sincerely hope Mark does not propose to this girl because it is going to be a waste of his time. It's like, I don't know. I'm pretty sure my neighbors probably heard me when she went back to him, and I could kind of see he was falling for her garbage. And I'm like going, dude, run, run. I mean, I feel sorry for these guys. I feel like Netflix set them up with a bunch of crazies. So anyway, I think I'm only 3 or 4 episodes in. I'm definitely going to continue it through the end. Like I said, I'm a Southern girl. I got to see this train wreck on through. And so we'll see what happens with them. So another show I've been interested in on Netflix that they've been recommending to me is called Ragnarok. And I was kind of trying to wait on Chris to see, because I thought he might be interested in watching it. And he's like, you know what, just go ahead and watch an episode and see what you think and then let me know. Well, I finally sat down and watched the first episode. And it was, at first I was having a hard time connecting with the show because it is quite obviously a film that it was filmed in Sweden and had Swedish actors, and they've dubbed it over in English. So when they talk, the words don't exactly line up with how their lips are moving. And I kept kind of focusing on that, and I wasn't paying attention to what was happening because I was just, stuff like that kind of gives me a weird disconnect. At any rate, I was trying to power through and watch the show. And I've only watched 2 episodes because I did watch the first one. I couldn't really form a definitive opinion to tell Chris on that one show, so I went ahead and watched the second one. So I've only watched 2. And so what I think it is about, it looks like it is about it's about a small town in Norway where evidently where the gods were, the Norse gods, way back up in the day. The mom and her 2 sons are coming back to town. Like, she's originally from there, and for whatever reason, she's moving them back there, and she's got a job there. And I don't really know what happened to their father at this point in time, but I believe he died like when he was 32. I can't remember how he died. But the 2 sons are Thor and Loki, basically. They go by other names, but I cannot pronounce them because they're Swedish. And I don't like the looks of them. They don't look like what I would imagine Thor and Loki would look like at that age. That's just the shallowness in me speaking. I think they're ugly. Now, I do think the kid playing Thor is doing a good job. So he may win me over yet. I'm kind of confused about what they're doing with Loki's character. I don't know if that's how he actually is in the comics and in the lore, but so I know that he's a trickster, so it could be that they're just kind of doing some things with him because shenanigans are afoot. I mean, he's messing with people. I did get past the whole it being dubbed in English thing. I'm going to give this a few more episodes and see what I think. I mean, it definitely has some potential, so we'll see what happens with it. So another show that we like that has come back, I think we're either on season 4 or 5, but it's Magicians, and I think it comes on Sci-Fi. It's based off a series of books, and I did try to read the books, and I just really couldn't get into them, so I DNF'd those, but I love the show. I love the first three. I love the first 2 or 3 seasons. Last year's season, they really kind of lost me. I think they just kind of didn't really know where they wanted to go with the direction of the show. Maybe they didn't expect it to go that many seasons, and it did, and they just kind of threw something out there. But I really wasn't interested last season, and I gave it about 3 or 4 episodes of this season, and then I just shit canned it. I mean, I was bored. I was falling asleep every time Chris would turn it on, and I finally just told him, "Look, you can just watch that without me. They just need to end it." And so the last show that I started, it's another series that I started watching on Netflix, and I think it came out this week, and they were advertising it to me on the screen when I would turn it on, and it's The Trials of Gabriel Fernandez. Well, the first time I turned it on and it advertised it, I watched the trailer and I thought, okay, this is some really terrible torture, subsequent murder of a child. And I was like, I can't watch this. But every time I turn on Netflix, it would pop it up there. And so I kind of read a few articles about it, and the mother and her boyfriend tortured this 8-year-old boy named Gabriel. They tortured him for 8 months and then murdered him. Not only that, but the city of Los Angeles, they showed it. Like there was a long list of where people reported abuse. Like one of Gabriel's teachers called, I don't know how many times, and I mean, the physical abuse that was clearly evident on this child, black eyes, I mean, just, oh my gosh. And the social workers, I mean, the teacher said at one, like the first time she called, she's like, he said his mother beat him with a belt with the metal end and he bled from it. And that meant the social worker was supposed to require the mother, issue a warrant for the mother to bring him to a medical hub to be seen. And it's assumed that if that had happened, he would not have been killed. He would have been removed from the home. There was so many times this teacher called, and it's like, why didn't you take this child? Like one time he told her he was scared to go home. Like he didn't want to go home. And he asked her to call the child services lady again. It's like, why did you send him home? I don't understand. And so the DA actually, in addition to bringing charges against the mother and the boyfriend, and they are seeking the death penalty, she is also trying the 4 social workers involved in this case because of their gross and willful negligence, that if they had done their jobs, this child could have been saved. Like, there's just, I mean, I ended up watching it because I thought, I don't have children, but I live in a huge community filled with children. And it's like, I thought maybe there's something I can learn that I might can recognize the signs. Like, what if I'm out walking Milo and Bandit one day and a child runs up to me and asks me for help? And then I think we need to educate ourselves on how this is supposed to work. Like how are these organizations supposed to deal with cases like this? Like if we can't educate ourselves, then we don't know what questions to ask when we see things popping up in the news. Like his death, like Gabriel's death was reported in the news, it wasn't even a newspaper. I think it was on a website. And a reporter saw it and began asking questions. And if he hadn't uncovered the right source, it might never have come to light just how terrible LA's child protection services truly is. I mean, one guy was saying, the hierarchy of the FBI and the CIA. He's like, but child protection services in LA, he's like, you have no idea how it works. He's like, it is impenetrable. And like one of the reporters, he was getting some information, they got wind of it, and they were literally like they looked through every email he had ever sent people. I mean, they were threatening them. They were really trying to find out who was talking to him. And it's like, so they knew they effed up. And instead of owning it, they're choosing to try and cover it up. And so it makes you wonder how many other children in LA's, how many other abuse and murders have just been swept under the rug because they didn't want to do their jobs. Like, how can an adult not want to help a child? I mean, it's just like, I don't understand. The elderly, animals, and children cannot defend themselves. It's, they're so vulnerable and at risk. I mean, it's our jobs to take care of them. So, I mean, this show is really, really deep. Like, I'm telling you, I would watch one episode and I would have to stop and take a break, go walk the dogs, go read one of my really interesting books and get in that world for a minute. Like, I really had to step back and kind of let myself rest from it. I mean, it's just so insane. And I'm not done. I think I'm halfway done with this, but y'all, but let's end on a good note. That's what I've been watching this week. Not a whole lot, but all of them feel really kind of, well, except for Love is Blind, but the rest of them are kind of really in-depth, intense. So if you're watching any of them below, or if you finished, drop me a comment below, let me know what you thought. So if you're still watching, I'm assuming you made it this far because you liked this video. If that's true, take a second to hit the thumbs up down below. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so. It would really help me grow. Y'all, thank you so much. I love you. Have a fantastic rest of your Friday, a great weekend, and I'll see you next week.